There are places on Earth where silence feels wrong, where the air itself feels stretched thin, where even the wind seems afraid to make a sound. The Nevada desert is one of them. It's the kind of silence that presses against your ribs, a silence that feels aware. That's where a lone man was seen walking across the sand, barefoot, sunburned, and staggering like someone learning to walk again. His skin was cracked. His lips were bleeding. His pupils didn't respond to light. No name, no belongings. Just a body that shouldn't have been alive. He moved without direction, like instinct was guiding him more than consciousness. He collapsed against an abandoned highway sign that hadn't seen a human in years. A trucker delivering scrap metal spotted him, nearly ran him over. His voice on the emergency line shook. "I don't think he's human." Rescue teams were there within minutes. Helicopters, paramedics, state troopers, blades kicking up sand, floodlights turning night into day. When they ran his prints, everything changed. Ethan Ward, a quiet husband, a respected engineer, a man who vanished without a trace 10 years earlier. His family had held 2 memorials. His wife had remarried. His home, long sold. And yet here he was, alive. They rushed him to a hospital in Las Vegas. When his family arrived, the reunion wasn't celebratory. It was devastating. His mother collapsed into him, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. His father tried to act strong but shook uncontrollably. His younger sister clung to his wrist like she feared he'd disappear again. Ethan stared at them with empty confusion. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He didn't react. He didn't remember the desert. He didn't remember his family. He didn't even remember his own name. But his vitals were flawless, too flawless. Resting heart rate of an Olympic athlete, blood pressure, textbook perfect. One doctor whispered, "It's like he just came off an assembly line." 48 hours later, the hospital changed. Nurses who cleaned his wounds, doctors who took his blood, paramedics who lifted him into the helicopter. They all fell violently ill. Some began coughing up blood. Others collapsed mid-shift, shaking on the floor. A few screamed that their skin felt like it was burning. Dozens died before anyone understood this wasn't food poisoning, radiation exposure, heat stroke, or infection as we knew it. Whatever Ethan carried, whatever lived inside him, was new. The CDC seized the hospital overnight. The National Guard surrounded the building, forming roadblocks for miles. Hazmat teams locked every entrance with reinforced steel. Ethan was strapped to a bed and wheeled into a sealed glass chamber, an isolation unit built for chemical warfare, not medicine. He clawed at the straps, begging for answers he didn't understand. He kept saying, "I'm not sick. Why is everyone else dying?" Then the first memory returned. A cold surface beneath his back, a metal table, a ceiling of lights that shifted and rippled like water, and figures tall, skeletal, with too many joints, and no faces at all. He woke screaming. Scientists descended on him like vultures. Memory tests, blood tests, brain scans, biopsies, interrogations. Ethan remembered Flash's brief, surreal nightmares, floating in a chamber of blue liquid numb. Needles drilling directly into bone one. A voice in his head speaking in shapes and colors. Constellations he had never seen, and yet knew by name. Every time a memory surfaced, something strange happened. The contagion spread. Staff in full protective gear fell ill. A lab tech in another building vomited blood through her respirator. A janitor, who never touched Ethan, died in his car on the way home. The virus didn't need contact. It needed proximity. Or maybe it needed Ethan to remember. The world learned about Ethan before they learned about the virus. News helicopters hovered over the hospital. Angry crowds formed barricades, demanding answers. Conspiracy theorists chanted that he was a government weapon. Hospitals across Nevada overflowed. ICUs shut down. Police stations became morgues. Border checkpoints collapsed under stampedes of terrified civilians. The virus didn't care about language, borders, money, or faith. It devoured everyone. Governments called it the Ward Plague. Ethan called it something else. A nightmare. As continents fell into chaos, Ethan's memories sharpened. He didn't simply appear in the desert. He had been placed there, dropped off like discarded equipment, released like a tagged animal being studied in the wild. The beings who took him didn't torture him. They examined him, disassembled him, reprogrammed him. They put something inside him. Not a creature, not a parasite, not a bomb. A biological Trojan horse. Human immune systems didn't recognize the pathogen because it wasn't from Earth. He wasn't infected. He was a delivery system. Then came the memory he had buried deepest. His voice, his begging. He had screamed for them to let him go home. He promised anything to see his family again. The beings didn't understand the words, but they understood desire. They understood leverage, and they understood efficiency. They let him return. He just never understood the cost. When Earth's population dropped below a global threshold, the sky changed. Massive structures materialized above major cities. Not spaceships, colonization vessels. Enormous, silent, kilometers wide, casting shadows that stretched across continents. Every superpower launched everything they had. ICBMs, railgun rounds, orbital lasers, nuclear warheads. The weapons dissolved harmlessly against the vessel's shields, rippling like stones thrown into a still lake. This wasn't war. This was extermination. A cleansing. Ethan watched the world collapse from the ruins of Washington, D.C. Bodies lined the streets. Cars sat abandoned, doors open, alarms still faintly chiming. Flies buzzed over sidewalks, littered with belongings people dropped during their last breaths. Phones kept ringing, unanswered. Large screens in Times Square displayed nothing but the emergency broadcast logo. Then, static. Every city fell the same way. Screams, silence, then wind. It wasn't cruelty. It wasn't vengeance. It was biology. Humans were the invasive species, and Earth was being restored. Then the aliens contacted Ethan again. Not with sound, with thought. He didn't hear them in his ears. He felt them inside the marrow of his bones. They showed him visions. Forests surged back over abandoned highways, breaking through asphalt as if reclaiming what had always been theirs. Entire skyscrapers disappeared beneath tangled sheets of vines, their steel frames swallowed by a world eager to erase the scars humans left behind. Oceans turned clear enough to see the seabed, no longer choked by pollution or noise. Wildlife flourished, animals moving freely, confidently, without the constant shadow of human presence. And in the visions, he saw alien children, small, pale, softly glowing, playing beneath a sky untouched by smog or war. Their laughter rang out in a world that finally breathed again. A world healed. A world restored. A world repurposed. A world completely free of humans. In that moment, Ethan finally understood the truth the aliens had been showing him. He wasn't chosen. He wasn't rescued. He wasn't special. He was used. For the first time since his return, Ethan cried. Not because he despised the aliens. Not because he feared being alone. But because something inside him, the part they had rewritten, restructured, remade, agreed with them. He saw the truth exactly as they revealed it to him. Raw, unfiltered, impossible to deny. Humanity had poisoned its oceans, erased its forests, driven countless animals to extinction, and turned its own cities into battlegrounds. The aliens weren't seeking revenge, and they weren't waging a war born from hatred. They were simply replacing a species that had failed the world it inherited. And Ethan, immune, restructured, rewritten, and delivered back to Earth like a perfectly designed instrument, wasn't humanity's savior. He wasn't a hero returning from the dead. He wasn't chosen or blessed or protected. He was the reason no heroes were left. Earth didn't collapse because of war, or politics, or technological catastrophe. It didn't fall to bombs, or leaders, or machines. It fell because of one man who only wanted to go home. If this story disturbed you, good. There are darker ones waiting. Subscribe to Forsaken Fables, because the next infection might already be here.